I'd like to start out today with an analogy for today's video. Imagine a plot of land where a house is going to be built. This plot could have a magnificent and creative house where new styles are tried that amazes customers. But instead, the construction company builds a cookie-cutter houses similar to the 1950s suburban scene. The house is not necessarily bad, and it might even be nice, but it isn't something new. Now, a few decades later, this now old house is planned to be destroyed in the hopes for something new and innovative and shocking. The destruction is easy, and the old house is no more, but the destruction company doesn't follow through with the hiring of new contractors, and the plot sits alone, broken, in a shadow of its past. But hope lies around the corner, as the new family quickly wishes to move on to the plot. So the contractors plan, but soon become pressed for time with the move-in deadline, and are forced to build upon the fourth foundation, and are forced to use some of the scraps from the destroyed house. Even with this challenge, the contractors still want to add a style of their own. But the result after the hard work is an unfinished, scrapped-together home, unsuitable for proper living. This is the tragedy of The Rise of Skywalker. The time spent setting up a basic story, and lack of the setup from The Last Jedi, and soft retconning many elements, sacrifice proper pacing, character development, and the entire film's success. The Rise of Skywalker comes off as an unsatisfying conclusion, unfitting of the greatest film franchise in history. The only true thing The Rise of Skywalker did right was to prove the fact that the disparity from the lack of a cohesive plan, and in part the rocky base The Last Jedi left the franchise in, caused the blossoming of the failure that is The Rise of Skywalker. So in today's video, we'll be discussing The Rise of Skywalker, and all of its failures, victories, plot points, and other minor details, and also how the Star Wars films are affected by this latest entry. Joining with me today is my good friend Star Wars Fan 999, along with newcomer Steve Harvey's Papa, to give their thoughts and opinions.
Hello.
Yeah, say So I think we're going to start off with good, and there's not as much of that, but I think there was some, honorable stuff in this movie that, it wasn't all bad. So the first thing I think the movie did well, to some degree, Rey was humanized by showing her failings of self-doubt, arrogance, and rashness, unlike anything we've seen before in the sequel trilogy. Your thoughts? Any one of you, really?
Well, I still think Rey is just kind of like a overpowered character. Like the thing is, like they tried to explain her power because she's like the granddaughter of Palpatine, but still, like, Luke was, the son of Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, and he had to go through, training from Obi-Wan and then from Yoda to get at the level that he was.
Yeah, what I'm referencing isn't.
I think like it could have worked if like they had any form of a plan, because what they did was they kind of just handed it off to J.J. Abrams in terms of like The Force Awakens, of course. They just handed it off to J.J. Abrams and a team of writers and said, just set up a bunch of stuff. And that's what he did. He set up, the First Order. He set up Snoke. He set up the mystery of Rey's parentage, and with no idea of where it would go. And that's what I think killed this trilogy in the end, was the lack of a plan.
Yeah.
That's what really messed it up. And I really am not a big fan of the prequels, of course, but what I can say for them is George Lucas had a plan for where they would go, and there was a narrative you could follow. But even the sequel trilogy, it can't do that, and I think that's what killed it the most in the end.
Well, yeah, you're right about that. I mean, yeah, I personally think the prequels are better because they're cohesive, at least, even though the execution was flawed. But yeah.
Yeah, I understand that.
All right, so another thing I thought this movie did well was the main characters were back together again and weren't split up like in The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
That was nice to see him. And
because like one of the best things I think of The Force Awakens was like the chemistry between all the characters. because Finn and Rey had some great chemistry, and Poe and Finn
Yeah.
had some great chemistry, and you know the actors, like despite the films themselves, the actors were always giving it their all, and they were clearly having a lot of fun, and they were fun to watch, and that's what I think the Last Jedi faltered on, is all the characters were split up, and you wanted to see them together and to build off each other more, but that didn't really happen, unfortunately. And I think that them being together does help, but it kind of is a double-edged sword, because the characters are all together now, but the only one that has anything to do is Rey.
Yes,
they're all kind of tagging along with Rey, like, oh, I guess we're going with you now. And it's good to see them all together, but there's no arc for any of them. Like Finn had his arc in Force Awakens. He could have died in any of these two movies, and nothing would have changed. And Poe had like a mini arc in Last Jedi, but nothing really paid off from it.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, that's why a plan is important, because if you plan out what these characters are going to do and what their characters are going to do and what the characters are going to go through, then it feels much more like a complete trilogy, and instead of like 3 separate movies.
Sure.
And that's why the original trilogy works so well, is because all the characters have an arc throughout them.
Star Wars, your thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of agree.
Yeah.
Alright, and the next point kind of relates to this, but yeah, the camaraderie between the heroes and the banter I thought was good, even when it was allowed, because the plot moved very quickly. And in addition to that, I thought C-3PO was handled
honestly,
the best.
He was kind of one of the highlights of the movie for me. Like
he was pretty goofy.
Yeah, he was goofy. He was funny, and he had some good lines, and they kind of harkened back to how like he was used in the Empire Strikes Back. And in the Empire Strikes Back, like pretty much every character hated him and always like made fun of him, and that's kind of what happened here too. And it was perfect. It's the perfect thing for his character, and pretty much, I think, like in my opinion, most of the comedy landed for me.
Yeah, unlike the Last Jedi, right?
Unlike the Last Jedi, where pretty much none of it hit. This, like, I don't know, like, not all of it was like, you know, laugh out loud funny, but none of it was bad, you know. It was like, most of it would give like a light exhale, you know.
Yeah.
It was decent.
I know what you mean.
It wasn't bad, that's for sure.
Alright, the next thing, oh yeah, I thought the acting between Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley was...
Yes.
I thought that was good. I mean, it felt natural, and it kind of built upon their Last Jedi status pretty well, I thought.
Yeah,
so I was happy to see that.
I mean, Adam Driver's, like, probably one of the best actors working right now. He's, I know you guys probably haven't seen this, but there's a movie on Netflix right now called Marriage Story.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, and it's got Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson, and Adam Driver is fantastic in that. So, despite this trilogy and its absolute mess that it is, you know, Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley still do a good job, and they play off each other really well.
Alright, the next thing I want to mention is, I don't know, I kind of like the redemption of Ben Solo. It was kind of satisfying to see him when he was, attacking the Knights of Ren and stuff, and, I don't know, I thought it was pretty good. And
was it only me, like, that was kind of weirded out by the fact he was wearing just, like, a normal long-sleeve shirt?
I mean...
Yeah, he kind of
Oops.
Was there a case? I mean, I don't know. Like, it kind of looked like Adam Driver just got plucked up off the street and was like, "Hey, come do the scene."
Yeah, I mean, I think it was his undergarment.
It didn't bother me. Like, it's not like a negative or anything, but you know.
I think it was like his undergarment of his Kylo Ren outfit, because it still had the lightsaber poke in it. So I think he just took off the excess clothes and.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It makes sense thematically. You know, he's removing the Kylo Ren, the
persona,
who he once was. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, he was great.
And yeah, that was kind of carried with Adam Driver and how he acted out. And the last thing I thought the movie did well was Babu Frick, the little droid Smith guy, he was pretty goofy, you know?
I mean, I don't really see that as a positive, because, like, he was such a minute part of it.
He was kind of forgettable, honestly.
But he was goofy. He was good for what he was, but, you know, I mean, you can't, he's not that notable, because, you know, you have, he's probably has, like, what, like, 2 minutes of screen time? Not even?
Yeah, not much, but I just think it's, like, gonna be one of the things I look fondly back on when I think of this movie. Like, oh, Babu Frick, he was pretty goofy.
Yeah, because there's not much else to look back on.
So, any other positives you guys thought were in the movie that we didn't get to?
There's probably something, but I can't think of anything right now.
Sarah, do you get anything?
I might think of some later, but
Yeah.
Okay, because now we're gonna get into the negatives, and
Ooh boy.
yeah, this one had a lot. All right, so the first thing, I think the biggest thing in this movie, for me at least, was the pacing, and I got two points on this. So, the poor pacing led to unsatisfying reveals and a lack of overall normalcy that was in every other Star Wars movie. Moments had no time to be built up, and it was all spent on plot, not like building up to the cool reveals and stuff. And
yeah, something real quick, something this movie did, which was kind of interesting, and I think it did on purpose, was that the movie, like, J.J. Abrams knew he could not make a cohesive narrative. Like, he knew he was basically screwed. So when I think when he was making this, he literally made the breakneck pace intentionally, in a way that kind of like anytime something in a way, because like every time something stupid happened, like, it was already too late to dwell on it. Like, something else was happening. Like, it was just like, before you could even think, like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. That's stupid. How does that even work?
Sure.
Before you can even think that, they're already on another whole other planet, you know?
Sure.
And it's so breakneck, and it's like they're just throwing film reels at you, and it's kind of ridiculous. But honestly, I don't blame J.J. Abrams. I don't think he cared, really. You know what I mean? Like,
alright, and then the other pacing problem that I had was, it was by far the worst so far. The first act was trying to make the rest of the film work, with extended scenes of fast-paced expose, dialogue, and it gave too many plot points and overbloating of new characters and planets that could have been hard to follow. It was forced to play catch-up, and I think that was ultimately caused by the kind of like really crappy spot the Last Jedi left it in, with no obvious continuation of plot and stuff. Any thoughts on that?
Well, you mentioned the characters and how they kept like introducing new ones. That was a huge problem, I think. They spent way too much time developing these new characters, when I think they could have just left them all out entirely. And like I don't remember their names.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean,
there was the bounty hunter that was like Poe's Zoe Bliss.
Yep, yeah, there was her, and then there was the former stormtrooper.
Yeah,
Jana.
Her name begins with like a J. Yeah, Jana.
Yeah, they were like they could be fine, and the actors like weren't bad or anything.
No, not by any means.
But they were just pointless to the overall story. They didn't add anything, and that was like valuable time they could have used spending to develop the important characters, developing Kylo Ren, developing Rey, even giving Poe and Finn something to do. Who knows? But it was just time wasted, I think. And
yeah, I personally thought that Jana and Zori Bliss could have been one character, and they could have like saved time.
Yeah, even that too. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I thought the whole Kijimi, that was the ice world Zori Bliss was on, that plot was unneeded just because C-3PO couldn't read the dagger inscriptions, and all of that could have been used for like the more satisfying reveals and better paced out scenes. And Kijimi was unneeded, kind of like Canto Bight was in Last Jedi. I mean, it looked cool and stuff, but yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, most of the stuff in this movie looks good, but it's in service of nothing. It's in service of a plot that means nothing. It's in service of like a overall saga, a trilogy. Well, not even a trilogy. It's like an entire saga of 9 movies now, and it kind of adds nothing to it. The Force Awakens gets a lot of hate, understandably, but something that it does do, and it does well, is it does add to the trilogy overall. It builds new characters, it establishes them well, and it lays the groundwork for something really good.
Else,
and of course, the next 2 movies kind of buried that idea, and I don't know. Like, I think like it doesn't even fit into the original, not the original trilogy, but the entire saga as a whole. At least this movie and The Last Jedi, in my opinion. I think The Force Awakens fits relatively well, in my opinion. But you know, I just think that these movies have just been a mess because the management behind it has just been so rocky and so I don't know what the word is. Uncommunicative? Is that a word?
Yeah, like lack of communication, sure.
Right, like you know, people can blame, you know, Rian Johnson all they want. You can blame J.J. Abrams all you want, but I think it's really
Kathleen Kennedy.
Yes, Kathleen Kennedy and all that. I think she needs to be banned from Star Wars.
Banned from Star Wars.
She should never touch anything Star Wars because she just does not know how to. Because, you know, I mean, look at Marvel. You know, Marvel is insanely successful, not only financially, but the fans love it. The fans love the movies, while Star Wars fans hate it.
And it's funny because I mean, Star Wars definitely had the bigger fan base when 2010 rolled around. So I'm just in disbelief of how Disney fucked up Star Wars, but they made Marvel out of nothing into something. I just don't understand.
Disney's first mistake was disregarding the expanding universe. And Kathleen has been quoted as saying, "We don't have, you know, Star Wars novels."
Oh, there were so many books
to work
though.
off of. Yeah, exactly.
It makes sense that they don't like include everything in the expanded universe, because you know there's just so much spanning from like, you know, back in even the 70s like, when that stuff got made. But they
could
need
have
to
like done
include
like the Thrawn trilogy.
They need to they you know, because that's some like the best stuff. That's some of the best stuff in the.
Yeah, Timothy Zahn knows what he's doing. Kathleen Kennedy.
That's why. Well, you know what? Never mind. I'll save that for the end. For the future.
Yeah, we could probably bring it up later.
Yeah.
Alright, so if we're done with the pacing and the subsequent tangents, I thought Leia, unfortunately, and this is a big unfortunate, she was a patched up mess that felt out of place in the scenes, and I mean, it was the best scenario possible. I do have to give them credit for that, because, you know, Carrie Fisher died, so they had to use the extra footage, and also, for other legacy characters, Ian McDiarmid, like, had to act out his character, and even though the Palpatine plot was pretty crappy, so it's just kind of a shame to see our favorite actors have to go out in this kind of fashion. That's what I'm feeling.
Honestly, in my opinion, I think Leia was handled decently well. You know, the scenes disregarding, of course, her death. They did feel weird. It didn't feel like natural.
Yeah.
It felt like, you know, it felt like they did it in post, which they did, and I can't really fault them for that because they couldn't do anything about it. But I honestly think that her death was handled well, in my opinion. I think that it was the only time in the entire movie I was emotional, so that's one thing.
Yeah.
But I think that it makes sense for her character. It was very weird and it felt rushed, but you kind of have to do that. You kind of have to work around Carrie Fisher's death, unfortunately. And you know, that entire sequence where, you know, where Chewbacca collapses on his knees in agony, like that part genuinely made me really sad. It actually made my dad tear up, fun fact. But it was because, you know, Chewbacca's seen all of his friends die, and literally all of his friends are gone, and it was just really sad. But I personally think it was handled well, and it was the best possible conclusion they could have had for her, I think, and for what they had to work with, I think it was done pretty well.
I don't know. To me, it just felt like Leia was in like a different universe when Rey was talking. Like they weren't having the same conversations.
Oh
Yeah,
never
I understand that.
underestimated droid.
Yeah, that line was like they just kind of threw that in there. It made sense, but it didn't. Like
Basically,
what?
like,
Why are we talking about
one
droids?
well, real quick, it'll be quick. One thing this movie does, including with Leia, is that it has so many plot holes, like a ridiculous amount of plot holes. And JJ, and then they're like, "So JJ, how are we gonna fix all these plot holes that you clearly have?" Oh, well, we'll just throw in one line of dialogue to explain it.
Yeah,
And
there was a lot of that.
There's so much of that. Where there was one off line that if you like look down to grab some popcorn, you would miss it. You know, like it was kind of ridiculous. And I hate when movies do that, when they like, oh, it's not a plot hole. We explained it with one dialogue line.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that doesn't count. It's lazy. It's technically not a plot hole anymore, but it just feels rushed and lame and boring, and it honestly makes it just pointless. You know what I mean? Like, it's, I don't know. I just hate when he does that, and he honestly did that in The Force Awakens too.
Alright, the next thing I think this movie did wrongly is oh yeah, also about Leia, I thought her Jedi scenes were unnecessary because Leia as a character was able to stand like apart from Luke and the whole Jedi aspect, because I thought she was a competent character on her own with her leadership skills, and the only reason like her Jedi training was in there was to, one, explain her Last Jedi scene, which was, you know, pretty bad, and then it was also to explain it was also to give Rey training, so people couldn't complain about that.
Yeah,
oh, she's too powerful.
That's the only reason that was in there.
Yeah, those two reasons.
Complained about the training.
Yeah, it just felt kind of weird too.
It did, yeah.
Any thoughts about that beyond what I said?
I think the whole sort of Leia training scene echoed too much of the novel like Dark Empire, which is now, you know, in the expanded universe legends sort of thing. And
yeah, this movie was a lot of that.
Yeah. Like,
I unfortunately
like,
have not read the book.
because of that, like, I can believe her flying through the air, but through the Last Jedi. But...
I mean, it made sense canonically. Like, we know Leia has the Force and she's powerful, but it just felt really goofy.
They kind of hinted at it in The Return of the Jedi, you know? Like, they kind of, you know, because she's a, you know, yeah.
yeah, that was into that. Oh, and another thing that this movie and also the sequel trilogy as a whole, all of the old characters are never able to get back together and have a scene, and that was just pretty sad, because some of my favorite moments were like the legacy characters and actors coming back to do their roles, and Disney missed an opportunity there.
You mean like the original trilogy characters? Yeah,
like having Leia, Luke, Han, and Lando in the Falcon cockpit again would have been cool. Cockpit.
Yeah, well, you know, you kind of had a moment like that. You had Luke and Leia at the very end.
We needed more of that, though. Han should have been with them at least.
But I will say I'm glad that they're not relying too much on old characters. To make their movies better, you know, because I don't want them to, you know, create this new trilogy with these new characters and then spend all the time on the old characters, you know. Like, I love the old characters and all, but I do want to see something new, you know. But I understand what you mean, because this movie could have used anything to help it, and that would have helped it a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Alright. Yeah, we already talked about Kijimi. I thought Rey's final confrontation with Palpatine was too quick and the battle too short, especially for the final Star Wars movie. It just didn't feel like a good final boss battle.
Well, I just want to... Yeah, well, because the entire point of the movie leads up to basically what amounts to Return of the Jedi. I was telling you this earlier, like, because you know, obviously, as everyone knows, Force Awakens was, like in terms of plot, was just like a New Hope, and I hope they didn't do that with Last Jedi. Last Jedi was a disappointment, but at least they didn't, you know, copy Empire.
Well, they kind of did.
Somehow,
to me, it did kind of copy Empire. To me.
Okay, yeah, no, I get that. To me, it didn't, but but no denying the Rise of Skywalker echoed Return of the Jedi a lot, especially in its finale. Everything from the Emperor like trying to draw Rey to the dark side, and him showing Rey, like, you know, the fleet dying and all that, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
The ceiling, and you know, that whole thing was just. I'm just gonna say right now, bringing back the Emperor in general is just stupid. It makes such little sense, and it's so rushed.
Hinted in the earlier movies.
They what?
But like, it clearly wasn't like planned. Like, there wasn't like hints of Palpatine back.
Right. That's why you need like a plan. You can like hint at things that are to come, and it makes everything feel much more satisfying.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that, and it's like, oh, by the way, the Emperor's back, and it's like,
he's supposed to be here, you know.
Yeah. Right.
But no. Yeah, they pulled Palpatine out of their asses for this movie because there wasn't a credible threat. I don't think Kylo was a threat by the time of by the end of The Last Jedi, because Rey always clowned him and beat him and stuff. So
yeah,
they had to have Palpatine because Kylo wasn't substantial enough.
Well, honestly, I personally would have rather had them just introduce some Sith Lord or something. No, like,
yeah, someone beyond
bring
Palpatine.
Back the Emperor, it just feels so lazy. Like at the very least, you could create a new character. You know, like, it doesn't have to be anything magnificent because, you know, they're gonna die in that movie.
Sure.
But it's just sad, you know, that they were so desperate that they had to bring Palpatine back.
Yeah, it was their only
not much payoff.
Realistic option at that point.
We all know Palpatine's gonna lose. I mean, you know, it's
yeah.
It's like the good guys win.
Especially Disney.
Right. So it's just pointless. They didn't do anything with him. He's just, you know, the same old, like, crackly voiced Emperor, and it's kind of goofy.
So yeah, I don't think Palpatine was too solid in this movie, unfortunately.
I mean, like, with what he was given, Ian McDiarmid did a good job. But he wasn't given much to do. So
yeah, unfortunately not.
He was just sitting there, hooked to life support and just talking.
Yeah. Alright, the next thing, I think we needed more of the best scenes. Personally, the only moments I was smiling and cheerful was the Force Ghost scene, because it was good to hear Anakin and all the, like, prequels come back. And then also when Lando was laughing. I mean, his laugh is so infectious. I thought Lando should have had a bigger role in the movie, and more screen time with him would have been really fun.
Yeah, Lando literally did nothing. They just gave Billy D. Williams a fat paycheck and said goodbye.
Yeah, and Harrison Ford.
They must have pulled in a lot of favors to get Harrison Ford to come back.
Oh, definitely.
Exactly. I thought he would have been done.
Oh yeah, I mean, the only reason he was killed in The Force Awakens was because he wanted out and he would never come back again, right?
Yeah. Well, the original plan in Star Wars Episode 5 was actually when he gets encased in carbonite was to have him die, but
yeah, but they changed it. And I'm pretty sure in Return of the Jedi he wanted to die too, but Lucas wouldn't kill him.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And he's never been a Star Wars fan.
Yeah. He's an old senile man now.
Senile, yeah.
I mean, that's just like Billy D. Williams. I mean, like, all of his scenes, he's sitting down, and like,
pretty much.
Like, I'm pretty sure he walks with a cane now. So, you know, that's why they had him with the mask at first, because, you know, you could put some stunt double in the mask, have him run around, and then when he takes the mask off, oh, it's Lando. He's still young. And it's like, no,
he looked great, but yeah.
It was nice to see Lando back, you know. I mean, it was short and ultimately pointless, but, you know, it was nice because I love Billy D. Williams.
It made sense. Oh yeah, and I think this is gonna get you off Star Wars, but the final space battle was no Endor. I mean, Endor was climactic and it looked great and had a good narrative, but
Dude, it's
what
almost
else?
like exactly like Endor.
Yeah, I mean, it was like Endor, but it kind of failed in every respect, and I didn't really feel any tension, and it was just kind of like, oh, that's nice. Like,
Yeah,
I
they
don't
didn't do
know.
anything new. They just tried to repeat Return of the Jedi. They you know, because like, oh, we're gonna lose, everyone's dying, and then oh, just kidding, Billy D. Williams is here with his fleet.
Yeah,
And
that's how it
An
works.
absurd amount of
Yeah.
rebel ships that just come out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Like you have to think
that,
like all those rebel ships had to like navigate through that little murky
that
space.
was just like Avengers
Sith
Endgame.
wave.
It kind of was,
It was
yeah.
literally just like Avengers Endgame. It's like, oh, the heroes are back. But
Yeah.
except in Avengers Endgame, like, it was set up, and it makes sense, at the very least. Whereas in this, it's like, oh, guys, remember? He was trying to get people.
Yeah, but it also kind of loses a bit of reasonability, because this whole movie takes place in 16 hours. Like, the first line that they said was...
Does it really? Wow.
Yeah,
Holy
yeah, so
crap.
Ray said, or it was one of the Resistance guys, but they said,
Right.
so Palpatine's gonna start an attack in 16 hours, so that means that in hyperspace travel in canon, like, can take whatever amount of time it needs to have the plot work, so...
Yeah.
I mean, it shouldn't have worked, but, you know, it just did, because it had to, so...
Yeah, that doesn't bother me that
kinda
much.
goofy.
Like, but like
Yeah,
that
that
I mean,
is-
this
it's
movie has-
minor,
this-
but still.
This movie has way more bigger problems at hand.
Hyperspace travel. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right about that, but it's just another thing to think
I
about.
understand that. I mean, again, like, you guys have much more knowledge
Yeah.
of the lore behind Star Wars than I do. I'm more into the movies and the
Sure.
video games. I'm not really experienced with the books and the all that whatnot, you know. So
Yeah, it can
you
get
guys have more
kinda-
knowledge on that.
get
but,
crazy.
You know, I understand why that bothers you.
And yeah, I think the last thing that I didn't like about it was in the entire sequel trilogy, the lightsaber combat was pretty clunky, especially Rey. She was just like hacking and swinging, and I mean, it was no final battle with Obi-Wan and Anakin. I mean, that shit was cool. This was very underwhelming, and I'm just like,
No,
eh.
I actually I have a differing opinion on that.
Oh, you do?
I'm not saying I liked the battles, but I did think I'm personally now this is different, but I'm not personally a big fan of the battles in the prequels, the lightsaber fights. Me personally, only because it just felt like that they were just kind of flinging them around, and the choreography was kind of like one note. It's like do this move, and then that's it.
Yeah.
And I felt like they went on for a little too long. Like if you have you guys watched the Old Republic cinematics? Like that stuff is the kind of stuff I want, you know. Like it's clean, it's brutal, but it's, you know, the choreography is like wonderful, you know. And some of that stuff you can't do, like, you know,
It's
because they have
animation.
the animation on their side. You can't do some of that stuff in real life. But but I don't know. I think like the clunkiness kind of adds something to it because obviously Rey has no training. So it makes sense that she wouldn't be able to wield a lightsaber as swiftly as, like, you know, as Obi-Wan or whoever would, you know.
Sure.
So I kind of liked it. I didn't like it, but I didn't hate it, you know. I was kind of indifferent towards it.
Yeah, I get you on that. I don't know. I just thought there should have been something more climactic, like
Oh no, I
the Revenge
agree
of the Sith
100% with
fight.
that, yeah.
And maybe
I agree with that.
like the crazy dueling of Revenge of the Sith wasn't the way to go, but it wasn't as cool as I
understand why
would have
people
liked
like it.
to
Like,
be.
I totally get it. It's just, you know, it's just not my kind of thing personally. But I totally agree with the anticlimactic
Yeah.
idea of all of it. It just
It
felt
was
like
kind of like the first battle we saw. It felt the same. Like there wasn't anything
Right,
interesting.
yeah.
I mean, Kylo did beat Rey, so that was different. And Leia
Yeah.
kind of bailed Rey out, but yeah.
I kind of like the lightsaber fight on the ruins of the Death Star.
Yeah, that's the one that we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that personally because it felt personal because Rey and Kylo are some of the, like, you know, they're like only two developed characters in this sequel trilogy.
Yeah, pretty much.
So there is some kind of character drama to it. and I thought the choreography was good personally, and
Sure.
yeah, I mean, I like that. And then of course the part where Leia sacrifices herself to save Rey, pretty much. I thought that part was pretty emotional. So I think that was fine, but you know.
All right, so that's all the notes I have for the negative things. Any other gripes you two had? I'm sure there's something, right?
Oh yeah, I have something. The Final Order Star Destroyer fleet is probably one of the stupidest things I've ever viewed in cinematic history. It is ridiculous. It is so unbelievable. Like, it's Star Wars, and I'm somehow in disbelief, you know? Like, it's like in Star Wars, I should be like, you know, oh, it's a fantasy movie. It's fine, you know? Like, goofy stuff like this can happen all the time, but that was just like, wow. Like, every single Star Destroyer is as powerful, if not more powerful, than a Death Star. And
well,
that
yeah.
kind of deflated a lot of, like, the original movie for me, the original movies. You know, like, it's like, oh, there's a Death Star here, but, you know, Palpatine had 70 billion Death Stars, and there were Star Destroyers too. So, and it was just dumb. And I don't know, like, what the backstory behind it is.
Yeah, Star Wars, can you explain that? Because that was pulled straight out of Dark Empire.
Oh, actually, I don't know. I'm Dark Empire. But...
Or no, what's the other one? God.
What?
I was just wondering how the hell, what's his name? How Palpatine managed to build all of these things.
Well, yeah, that was kind of goofy and stuff, but yeah, the Death Stars, the Star Destroyers with Death Star crap on them that's like the Eclipse class Star Destroyers. Remember those Star Wars?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the Eclipse class.
Yeah, they're basically those. I mean. So I think Palpatine only built 2 of them, and they were like super big and stuff. But these guys are just pretty small and
just
powerful.
Regular, like, Imperial 1 class Star Destroyers.
Yeah, they're actually new ones. I forgot the name, but yeah, they're.
And it's pretty goofy how like there's all these crazy powerful Star Destroyers, but the Resistance is like, oh, we have to destroy this one and they'll be defeated. And it's like, what? What do you mean? And then I looked more into it, and it was like, because that one had like the navigation thing.
Comms array.
But that just doesn't make sense to me. It's like, you don't need a navigation thing to get out of the planet. You just turn your back to the planet and go up, right? Isn't that how planets work?
There's some sort of like thing with like the Maw and
yeah, it was like kind of
like,
hard
just, like, storm,
to navigate.
Like, gravity wells and other shit like that.
Yeah, like it made.
That's why they needed the comm array to navigate.
It was kind of like the Kessel Run, like
well,
that was super.
They probably gave one line of dialogue to it that I missed. So.
Yeah, there was. It was really brief, and I only noticed it because I watched it 3 times.
The thing that I kind of have a problem with is that they shut down. So the Resistance visually goes for the one on the ground, and then they activate the one on the Star Destroyer. But then the Star Destroyer is destroyed. Why didn't they just reactivate the one on the ground?
Yeah, I mean,
my friend, you just found one of several plot holes.
Yeah, exactly.
They both could have been used. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, like. In my opinion, I'm kind of just glad that this trilogy's over. I'm glad that it's wrapped up because I want Disney to take a break. They probably won't take a long break because you know it's impossible to stop the money train.
Yeah, and the greed of Disney.
But I hope they take at the very least a 4 or 5 year break.
Oh no, my friend, the next movies are slated for 2022.
Are you joking?
No, 3 years is all we get.
Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what I want them to do is just do something entirely new. You know, like.
Yeah, I think they will.
I don't want anything connected to any of these, to the prequel trilogy, to the original trilogy, or the sequel trilogy. I want to be something completely new. Because anytime they try to connect it to the older trilogies, it sucks. So I just want them to try something new, and maybe hire a competent team. Maybe fire Kathleen Kennedy, get someone else, get some competent writers. Don't bring J.J. Abrams back because he's the biggest hack in Hollywood. Just Get someone new,
Yeah,
please. For the love
you're
of
not
God.
wrong. Alright, any other negatives with the movie specifically? Good job, Star
The
Wars.
music. Well, okay. So there was a
Yeah.
lot of musical cues that echoed just like literally straight out of the original trilogy.
Definitely.
Like the Emperor's theme.
Imperial March.
Yep.
Yeah, the Imperial March, and like there may be some that's like oh that's a good thing, but to me it's like it's unoriginal. It's not really creative, and so yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of a shame because John Williams is a great composer. I mean, he's done some
John
cool
Williams,
stuff,
like,
but
in the prequel trilogy, like John Williams,
oh
like
my
score
God,
is like
I love
fantastic.
that.
It's even better than like the original trilogy in my opinion.
Yeah, and that was great too. And yeah, I
And
just
he
thought,
pulled out all the stops, and then like when I listened to like the soundtrack for like Star Wars Episode 7, it's like when I listen to the music, usually when
yeah,
I listen to the music, I can picture what's happening, but when I listen to Episode 7 soundtrack, it's like what's happening?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I love the prequel stuff. And oh, he left. All right, we'll just finish it up. Well, I slated it for an hour, so yeah, we got time.
Okay, cool.
Alright, yeah, I thought it was unfortunate that such a legendary composer had to go out like that. Like, watching the movie 3 times, I only noticed the Knights of Ren theme when they were standing on that cliff. That was kind of noticeable, but I don't even remember it now.
Yeah, but the Knights of Ren were just like such a small part of the movie.
Yeah, that's another thing. And the Sith Troopers, they didn't really do anything.
Yeah, like it's all just designed for money. Oh, like the Do, the hair dryer droid.
Yeah, he
you
was
could cut him out
pretty
of the movie and
goofy.
it wouldn't change it at all.
I mean, he was cute, but yeah.
But it's
Kinda
just designed to sell toys.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Where's all the damn toys and merchandise? I mean, I went to JCPenney's, Target, I didn't see any shirts. And I got all my Star Wars new movie shirts from there before, and this time around, we
we
had
talk
to...
about shirts while else.
Well, yeah, and it also correlates because we looked at the toy shelves and stuff, and there was like an end cap maybe, not like a whole row like Force Friday for Rise of Skywalker. I mean, if you recall that, or Force Awakens, there was like so much stuff, and now it's just kind of fell under a little bit, which I find intriguing. That was also kind of unfortunate for the lack of good Palpatine meme lines. I didn't
I'm
really...
back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was messing around with a crossball and it hit my TV cord and it turned it off.
Yeah.
Are we still recording?
So most of his meme stuff was like.
Yeah,
in the
we're
prequels.
wrapping up here. Yeah,
Okay.
it's kind of a shame because Palpatine memes are like some of the best ever. We didn't,
Oh yeah,
really
you're
get,
talking
we
about
didn't get too
Palpatine
many.
movie. Oh yeah, yeah.
We didn't get too many good potential memes, you know.
Yeah, that would have been nice. I laughed when he said "do it." That was hilarious. But
we did get to see
other
his
than
face though. Like the
there's
facial
nothing
expressions are like the best part when he says
that
those.
basically
There's so much, like,
describes this
lightning.
entire movie. There's just nothing.
Well, there's so much like lightning going around and like flashes. Like you could in the beginning you could like hardly make out his face. I guess it's supposed to be like
Yeah.
kind of make it more intimidating, but still. It
Okay,
was distracting
I had
with
a-
all the lights.
Sure.
I had a question.
Yeah, we could probably answer it.
That yeah. So okay. So I was on YouTube, right? And I somehow came across a Star Wars video. And
Somehow.
I don't
Yeah.
even know. I was just
That's fine.
You know, whatever.
Yeah.
But it was talking about how that Palpatine is like the real Palpatine, and the Palpatine we see in the original trilogy is like a clone.
I've heard that theory too.
Is that theory or is that like fact?
Well, I'm trying to remember the movie, and the thing is like they don't really explain how Palpatine's back.
No, they should
maybe
have done
there's
that too. We needed that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. That's what most people are saying. I think that's just people trying to like make the movie make sense.
Probably to just like
you know?
justify like some sort of retcon. Like
Right.
the theory that I kind of like, well, it's kind of expanding on yours, is that Palpatine somehow foresaw that Darth Vader will betray him. So like the Palpatine that you see in Return of the Jedi is just a clone, and the real Palpatine is hiding on Exegol or whatever.
Right. I mean,
That's a
because the
stretch.
theory that I saw literally talked about like the Palpatine always that we saw in the original movies was a clone, including the one in the Chancellor Palpatine in the prequels.
See, I don't like that theory because it just takes away the sacrifice Anakin made. And did he really do anything if he didn't kill Palpatine? And I know his action was trying to save his son, and Palpatine's death was a byproduct, but I don't really like that all too much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really like a lot in this movie, but
yeah,
you know,
so
you live, you move on, and hopefully they'll make something worthwhile next.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll have more books to explain everything later on.
Hopefully they fire fucking Kathleen Kennedy.
I think they will. She can't stay, and especially given that the movie doesn't seem to be making as much money. I think that'll be another reason, if anything, to fire her.
Yeah, the Solo movie bombed, and this might also make very...
I mean, it's still gonna make money, more than Solo, but apparently the box opening for the weekend isn't as much as it could have been.
Oh yeah, well, you know, when I say bombed, I mean not up to the executive standards, you know, because, like, bombed means they'll still make, like, you know, $300 million. Oh
yeah, that's money, but yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Also, one quick note, it'll take like 2 seconds. I watch Hulu a lot, and there are so many commercials on Hulu of children getting Star Wars toys, and it's some of the most disgusting shit I've ever seen. It's just so ham-fisted, and it's like, oh look, I got a lightsaber, and it's trying so hard to sell merchandise because apparently the Star Wars merchandise sales are down by a lot.
Yeah, they don't sell as much as they used to.
Yeah, apparently, like, they're, you know, making not a lot of money on that department, so...
Yeah, we talked about that earlier.
So much.
I found it, like, challenging to find a shirt, and we had to order it online, like, at the midnight hour to get it.
Wow.
And, like, the toys at Target, they only had, like, an end cap. And if you recall The Force Awakens, like, it was a big media day when Force Friday came out, and they had, like, a whole row and stuff, so I thought that was interesting, like...
Yeah.
They played a lot of ads for the movie and a lot of footage, but no toys.
Oh yeah. I
don't know.
I think they're you know, they might be like trying to leave behind the merchandise a little bit more, which I hope, because it's not making as much money. Because, you know, I mean, because the only reason that stupid little robot was in this movie.
Yeah, we said that earlier. We said that earlier.
Yeah. So.
Okay, another thing. I don't think the title crawls were as good. Like, even...
Oh, yeah,
I think Lucas wrote them well. Even from the prequels. I love the prequels.
Like, the dead speak. Okay, what the fuck?
Like, Revenge of the Sith.
It was like written by, like, a 7th grader. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, I love Revenge of the Sith's open, and you might not like their prequels, and they have their problems, but their title crawls were cool, and I thought they...
Oh, yeah, I mean, every Star Wars movie, even the bad ones, had... Even The Last Jedi had a good title crawl. Like,
I don't know, I kind of thought... This one was bad, but I thought the sequels were all kind of off. That's how I felt.
I never thought any of them were off until this one, personally. I just noticed something like, it's like, Rey is blah 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 blah. Meanwhile, Kylo is blah 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 blah.
Yeah, it was very...
It just felt very, it didn't feel...
I'm going down here. Alright, another thing, okay, this is kind of a minor thing, but I want to talk about the audiences in the theater. So, I distinctly remember in The Force Awakens when I saw it for the first time, the audience was clapping and cheering when the big moments happened, like when Rey caught the lightsaber, the opening crawl. Everyone was happy. I didn't get any of that in the new movie. And
my theater was absolutely packed and it was silent.
Yeah, and on my Sunday viewing, my theater was rowdy. When Rey climbed up onto the Death Star in the throne room scene, like, some guy said shut up and it was pretty loud. There was people on their phone the entire time. It was pretty bad, and yeah, people were on their phone.
Yeah, I mean,
they were restless.
That's the modern day theater for you. I mean, there's always gonna be people on their phones for no reason.
I don't remember it like that in The Force Awakens. I think it captivated more people and people cared more.
Yeah.
Like, they were just here to finish it off, not to do it right and enjoy it.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. That was an interesting observation.
Real quick too, I don't know if you guys know this, but our good friend J.J. Abrams has
Jar Jar Abrams.
Yeah, I saw that. People are calling him that now. But J.J. Abrams has this philosophy on filmmaking. It's called the mystery box.
Oh yeah.
You know that? Yeah. So basically, what he does is which is exactly what he did in The Force Awakens, is he sets up all these things and doesn't actually reveal what they are.
Yeah, there was a lot of that.
In the words of Maz Kanata, it's a good question for
Another time. Yeah.
Yes, that's literally it. And he does it in this movie too. Because you know there's that thing with
Finn.
With
Finn's
Finn,
secret.
The Finn's secret, yeah, and he just doesn't ever reveal it. And I don't know if that was just like accidentally left in this cut of the movie, and I don't, or if he did that like, oh, maybe we'll set up something else, you know, or something.
You can see him thinking that. Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, I just hate J.J. Abrams so much. He's like, you know, Last Jedi sucks and all, but at least Rian Johnson had like a vision for his. Like J.J. Abrams is just such a hack, you know, like. Rian Johnson makes good movies, you know.
Let's keep it moving. Yeah, we only got like a few minutes left, so
Oh shit.
let's keep it quick, but I also thought there was less gender politics in this movie to fuel the negative fire. I mean, I think it was overt in The Last Jedi, and it was a big part of the plot with Holdo. I mean, there was that little kiss scene, but that was minor. I don't think that's too big of a problem.
Yeah, and all these idiots online are like, "Oh, Disney is so progressive," and it's like, no, they're not. Shut up.
And that would people can't complain about it as much, and I think that's a positive for this movie because this movie needs as least controversy as it possible.
Yeah, this movie just needs to like go in the corner and die.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably what's gonna happen. Alright, next thing, okay, so I think this is the last minor point, unless we can wrap it up quickly, but, my dad was, like, kind of thinking, like, what if, Lando said to Jannah, you know, that one actress, at the end, like, instead of, like, asking about her lineage, he, like, turned to her and said, hello, what have we here? Like, he was trying to hit on her. I don't know. I thought that could have been really funny.
Honestly, if this movie wasn't made in 2019, that would have been great.
Oh, yeah, you know, that would have been hilarious, but that would have been creepy.
Everyone would have, you know, controversy would have started. So.
Oh, yeah. So, JJ probably left that out.
Yeah.
Right, any other extra minor thoughts?
Nope. I mean, it was just disappointing, you know. It was.
Yeah.
It's a shame that it ended like this, and hopefully Disney can move on.
Yeah. So to conclude, the Rise of Skywalker seemed to be one step behind the very start. A spot that was very clear, and the evidence of the rushed and incohesive plot. As much as I wanted to load the final chapter in the Skywalker story, it left me disappointed and underwhelmed. I'm not mad or angry, but saddened by the fact that this is how my favorite franchise ends. The Last Jedi seemed to echo this mood by saying, the greatest teacher failure is. The Rise of Skywalker is our lesson. Thanks for watching.